You can see more of that interview on our website. In the meantime, our other big story, the FedEx shooting here in Indy, and this week a moment of silence on the House floor in Washington to honor the 8 victims who lost their lives.
Their legacies will live on through our efforts to save lives in the future. Hoosiers are resilient, Madam Speaker, and we will continue working hard to create safer communities across America, always carrying the memory of those we lost.
That's Congressman Andre Carson alongside the rest of the Indiana congressional delegation, honoring the 8 lives lost in that shooting in a bipartisan moment of silence there on the floor of Congress. Of course, this incident has again led to a national conversation about gun reform and specifically Indiana's red flag law. Under state law, a judge has 14 days once a firearm is seized to determine if a person should get it back. In this case, Marion County Prosecutor Ryan Mears says there wasn't enough evidence to go to court. We spoke with Republican State Senator Aaron Houchin, who wants to make the law more strict when it comes to prosecutorial enforcement.
Had the prosecutor followed the red flag procedure in this case, then this 19-year-old might have not been able to purchase a second firearm after the family did voluntarily, turn over that weapon.
We have more on our website from the FOP president, former Congresswoman Susan Brooks, weighing in on that issue this week. Meantime, Senate Minority Leader Greg Taylor says this isn't just about the red flag law. He believes it's about the age a person can buy a gun in Indiana. The suspect in this case was 19. Last year, Senator Taylor proposed legislation that would raise the age to 21 to buy a rifle. That bill didn't get a hearing.
He should have never been eligible. He was 19. He had mental problems. He probably could have fixed them by 21. But we didn't have the wherewithal in this legislature to pass legislation.
State lawmakers wrapped up their work on the state budget this week. A lot of reaction to this news as well this week. Former officer Derek Chauvin found guilty on all 3 counts in the death of George Floyd, a momentous verdict there in Minnesota this week. It was certainly a consequential week in the news, and that's just one of the many topics I discussed in a one-on-one interview with the new chairman of the Democratic National Committee ahead of the president's address to Congress on Wednesday. With the president planning to address Congress next week, there's a lot to discuss with new DNC chairman Jamie Harrison. The president speaking to Congress next week, we know he'll talk policy. We know he'll talk about the pandemic, but what do you expect to hear from him on a couple of other big topics in the news? Police reform, we just had the Chauvin verdict this past week, and also guns and mass shootings like the one we just experienced here in Indianapolis.
Well, the president has been a leader in both of these spaces, and I think he will continue to lead, and I think we'll hear that in his remarks. Right now, there's a lot of uneasiness around this country, and I know personally the impact of this gun violence, this massive gun violence that we're seeing in this country. Just sending hopes and prayers is not enough. If our kids are continuing to die, if our loved ones are continuing to be mowed down in these type of instances, and I think President Biden is going to try to lead and bring us together to come up with some common sense solution that respects our Second Amendment rights, but at the same time, make sure that everyone is safe.
There's been a lot of reaction this week to the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial, but some have also suggested the president and other Democrats like Maxine Waters may have gone too far in some of their remarks prior to the verdict. How do you respond to that?
Listen, I think that's a lot of political hooey. To be quite honest, this should not be political. The critiques I hear from the other side is pretty empty. We need to do all that we can to have real policing reform in this country.
The president's speech next week is expected to focus on the pandemic and also his $2 trillion infrastructure bill known as the American Jobs Plan.
We have not invested in the infrastructure in this nation in a very, very long time. I'm told that there are over 1,100 bridges in Indiana right now, 5,500 miles of road and highway in Indiana that are in poor condition.
This week, Republicans announced their own counterproposal, a plan that would spend $500 billion over the next 5 years.
I want roads and bridges. I want broadband build out. I want water infrastructure. I want to make sure that we're investing in traditional infrastructure priorities. And my hope is that we can work together in a bipartisan way, as we have traditionally done on infrastructure bills.
Next year, Senator Todd Young is up for re-election. And as Democrats look to keep control of the House and Senate, Young has been raising a lot of money in his campaign for re-election.
We're prepared for a very vigorous race and one that has to be incredibly well resourced. I have to say, you know, just in the last quarter, a month of which was taken up by an impeachment trial, people were incredibly generous. I was very busy working on this cutting-edge legislation, the Endless Frontier Act, that will help keep us safe and secure and grow our economy. And even then, we were able to bring in over $1 million. So I feel secure about the way our campaign's being run, the breadth and depth of support we have across the state of Indiana. But people that know me understand that I take absolutely nothing for granted.
How challenging a race will that be for Democrats here in the Hoosier State?
Well, listen, you know, we got a lot of work to do in Indiana, but we got brand new leadership in the Indiana Democratic Party. And I'm very confident. I just spoke with the chair the other day. I'm very, very confident that they are working on a grassroots level to really build up the pipeline of young talent that thinking about running, but also looking at all of the statewide races as well. And so I'm pretty confident that we'll have some good people running for office there in the next cycle. But it's important for us to continue this president's agenda. We need to retain our majorities in both the House and in the United States Senate. And so the DNC is going to do all that it can to make sure we do just that.
All right, DNC Chair Jamie Harrison, we have more of that on our website. Coming up next this Sunday in Focus, a new state budget in the works with billions more than originally anticipated. We'll hear from the governor and legislative leaders, plus what it means for Indiana schools. Then later we'll hear from IMS President Doug Bowles on the decision to invite fans to this year's Indy 500 with the month of May right around the corner.